to the woods. I thought it'd be quite nice to show you a little bit of charcoaling on a small scale. In fact, what I decided to do is make some artist charcoal. This is what it looks like. This is made from very thin willow. We're going to use willow today, but it's slightly thicker, so the burn might take a bit longer. But just to give you an idea, a bit of board I found earlier, but hello, there we go, artist charcoal. I'm not going to attempt to draw anything else because drawing is not my thing. Carving, yes. Drawing, very definitely not. Okay, so charcoal, what is it? Well, it's wood or any organic material really, with all the impurities, the water, the chemicals taken out of it by a process of burning, but burning with very limited oxygen. And what you're left with is pure charcoal, okay, which, as you may know, is great for barbecuing with. So we're going to make some artist charcoal, and we're going to make it in an old biscuit. Actually, it's a sweetie tin, but you could do it in a biscuit tin. The charcoal, the wood you use is willow, and as you can see, we've cut this earlier, and I've stripped the leaves off it. Now, normally I'd probably start with something slightly thinner, but this is all I had to work with. This is all I've got to work with today. So we've cut the ends off, we've stripped it down, and the first thing we've got to do, it's green by the way, so it's freshly cut. In fact, it was cut about half an hour ago. As you can see, we've got a nice fire going to cook on. Kettle's on. In fact, kettle's boiling away. I'm just going to actually take that off a minute. I'll be back in 2 seconds. First thing we've got to do with this willow is strip the bark off it. Now, ideally, it would be nice and straight like that. Okay, so you get your knife, and you're going to use a punch cut. I think we showed it in the butter knife video a little bit before. So all you want to do is very gently remove the bark, and I hope you can see that. And ideally, we don't want to cut into the wood at all, okay? Because we want to try and keep the form of the willow as it is without taking out great chunks of it. So we're going to take off all the bark off all this willow. Okay, I'll just do this one bit to start with. Don't worry, you're not going to have to sit and watch me do all of this. And then once we've got the bark off, put the knife away in a nice safe place, and we're going to use loppers. Okay, and we're going to cut it so it fits in this tin. Okay, ideally you would use all the same size willow, and we're going to fill this tin completely if we can, if I've got enough. Use the same size willow so it burns and charcoals at the same rate. As you can imagine, if we put something on, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but that thin compared to that thin, that's going to go a lot quicker than that, and we'll end up just burning that and have nothing left. So it's all roughly the same size. So what I'm going to do now is continue stripping off the willow. Where's it gone? Lost me bit. There it is. Stripping off the willow, getting rid of all the bark, and cutting it and putting it in the tin. Okay. Right, welcome back. As you can see, we've stripped the willow. The reason for stripping it is because it leaves a nicer finish on the wood when it's charcoaled, because the bark will burn at a different rate. Ideally I would fill the tin completely, but we didn't quite get enough willow. So the next thing to do is put the lid on it and pop it on the fire. Okay, how you doing? Right, as you can see, the tin's on the fire, along with the kettle, which I still haven't made a cup of tea with. It's very difficult to tell, but there is white smoke amidst all the other smoke coming out the top of the tin. And what we're looking for is that smoke to get faster and faster, and eventually it will clear. Now it'll either clear completely or we'll see flames shooting out the top. When that happens, we know that all the moisture and everything's gone from the wood, and all we're going to be left with is pure charcoal. Now obviously when we take the tin off the fire, we've got to be extremely careful because it is going to be very, very hot. So we'll come back when we're ready. As you can see now, the flame is shooting out the top, which means we're now burning charcoal as opposed to burning wood. So now I've got to get that off there without burning my fingers, hence these thick gloves. Turn it over, cut off the air and let it cool. Quickly in, turn it over. Can you see that? Yep. Turn it over. Now we're going to let that cool for a minute. Because as you imagine, that tin's been on there, what, probably half an hour, I would have said. So we've had to keep feeding the fire. I'm just going to move to the side slightly because I'm getting smoked out. Okay. The tin's been on there about half an hour. All the impurities, all the moisture, in theory, is all burnt out, and all we're left with is pure charcoal. So as you can see, the tin's still smoking. So we're going to leave it a few minutes just to let it cool, and then we'll come back. Okay, we've let it cool for a few minutes. Obviously you've got to be very careful when you do this because there's a lot of heat there and it transfers nice and quickly through to that tin. So I'm going to get the lid off, which is always a bit of a challenge. Still a bit warm, but it should be okay. But I've got to get it, leaving it open isn't easy. So what I'm going to do is very carefully use the blunt side of my knife and just use it as a lever, like that. Now obviously you have to be careful because the knife's sharp on the other side. The lid's just popped, so I'm going to put the knife away, make sure that's nice and safe, and hopefully, here we go. You see that full tin of charcoal has now gone down to quite a nice size. Perfect charcoal. You can see, well, you maybe not be able to see because it's quite small now, nicely formed in the middle. And if you look closely, you can see the rings of the wood still intact. Does it work? That's the thing. Well, I'm pretty confident about that, but just to see, bearing in mind again, I'm not an artist. There we go. Thanks for watching.